when remembering the sacrifice of King Leonidas and his 300 Spartan warriors for Greek. Queen Gorgo of Sparta tells her men about the Battle of Marathon, the beginning of the war between Persia and Greece, in which King Darius, with his troops, prepared to take control of Greece. However, Themistocles, a warrior from Athens, a freedom fighter, led a sudden attack which resulted in King Darius' troops being defeated, and King Darius of Persia was killed by Themistocles of Athens. Darius' son, Xerxes, witnesses his father's death and is advised to never wage war against the Greeks. But Darius' naval commander, Artemisia, the adopted daughter of Darius, a beautiful but deadly Persian naval commander, persuades Xerxes to become a god and sends Xerxes on a journey through the desert. Xerxes reaches a cave and bathes in an otherworldly liquid, emerging as a god king. He returns to Persia and declares war on Greece to avenge his father. Meanwhile, due to the killing of King Darius of Persia at the Battle of Marathon, the name Themistocles of Athens became famous throughout Greece, and he is now known as the Greek general. As Xerxes' forces advance towards Thermopylae, Themistocles meets with the council and convinces them to provide him with a fleet to engage the Persians at sea. Themistocles travels to Sparta to ask King Leonidas for help, but is informed by Dilios that Leonidas is consulting the oracle, and Gorgo is reluctant to side with Athens. Themistocles reunites with his old friend Silius, who infiltrated the Persian troops, and reveals Artemisia was born Greek, but defected to Persia after her family was raped and murdered by Greek hoplites. Rescued and adopted by a Persian emissary, she was trained and eventually rose up to become a naval commander. Themistocles also learns that Leonidas has marched to fight the Persians with only 300 Spartan warriors. Themistocles leads his fleet of 50 warships and several thousand men, which includes Silius, Callisto, son of Silius, and Themistocles' right-hand man, Aeschylus, to the Aegean Sea, starting the Battle of Artemisium. They ram their ships into the Persian ships and attack them before retreating. The following day, the Greeks feigned a retreat and led a group of Persian ships into a crevice, where they became stuck. The Greeks attacked the Persian ships from the cliffs above. Impressed with Themistocles, because he can defeat most of her troops, Artemisia brings him onto her ship and attempts to lure him to the Persian side as her second in command, but he refuses her offer after engaged in sexual encounter with her. Artemisia was angry. As a result, she summons her special forces, and the Persians attack the Greek ships with tar and flame bombs, but an Athenian kills one of the Persians, who falls into the tar carrying a torch, damaging ships from both sides. Themistocles is thrown into the sea by an explosion and nearly drowns before being rescued by Aeschylus, and stands by Silius' side as he succumbs to his injuries. Believing Themistocles to be dead, Artemisia and her forces withdraw. After recovering from his injuries, Themistocles learns that only a few hundred of his warriors and 6 of his ships survived the disastrous attack. Daxos, an Arcadian general, tells Themistocles that Leonidas and his 300 men were killed in the Battle of Thermopylae, after Ephialtes betrayed the Greeks to Xerxes. Themistocles returns to Athens and confronts Ephialtes, who reveals that Xerxes plans to attack and burn Athens to the ground. Ephialtes regrets his betrayal and welcomes death, but is spared, so he can warn Xerxes that the Greek forces are gathering at Salamis. Themistocles visits Gorgo in Sparta to ask for help, but Gorgo is mourning Leonidas' death and is angry for what the goal of a united Greece has cost. Before departing, Themistocles returns Leonidas' sword, which had been delivered to him by Ephialtes under Xerxes' orders, and urges Gorgo to avenge Leonidas' death. In Athens, Xerxes' troops had finished destroying the city and rested, considering Greece very weak. Then Ephialtes arrived to deliver Themistocles' message that Greece would continue to fight him. After knowing Themistocles was still alive, Artemisia set out to prepare her navy for war. The remaining Greek ships attacked the Persian ships, starting the decisive Battle of Salamis. Themistocles and Artemisia engaged in a fierce duel, and both received severe wounds. Gorgo arrives at the battle along with ships from numerous Greek city-states including Delphi, Thebes, Olympia, Arcadia, and Sparta, all uniting against the surrounded Persians. Daxos leads the Arcadian army while Themistocles urges Artemisia to surrender. Xerxes, watching the battle from a cliff, turns his back on her, acknowledging his naval defeat and continuing the march of his army. Artemisia tries to kill Themistocles, but he stabs her, and ended up by killing her. While Dilios leads the Greek army, Themistocles and Gorgo charge at the Persians with the entire Greek army. The final war between Persia and Greece entered the final stage where both parties mobilized all their troops onto the war.